I think that it kind of like helps here that we're from Finland, and of course we're very early with smartphones. So back in 2003, I actually organized a competition to create the best possible mobile multiplayer game, and then Niklas and two of his friends, who were students at the Aalto University, they actually took part, won the competition, and then they came to me and said, okay, what do we do now? And I said, okay, why don't you start a company to make games, which we did, and then Rovio was formed 10 years ago, and then we made 51 games, and Angry Birds is actually like our 52nd game, so
not the first game.
Not quite like an overnight success story.
In other words, you put a lot of hard work into it. It came out of competitions, but still, no one was playing video games on the phone then. Did you think it would be huge, or was it just this is something that needs to be done? Let's do it.
I think that always believe that the market will be huge, but it's always, the timing is like really, really tough. So I think that then when we came out with the 52nd game, which happens to be Angry Birds, okay, the market had changed, the iPhone appeared, the App Store appeared, so the market changed, and then it was just the perfect timing for us to come out with Angry Birds in December of 2009. And we kind of knew that we were onto something because the developers played the game a lot, during development. That's why it took a bit longer.
So if your own people get addicted to it, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Do you know? Do you know how many hundreds of billions of dollars you've cost our nation in lost productivity from people sitting around playing this game at work? Every time I turn around, somebody's
not
doing this
their
instead
job.
of doing what they're supposed to be doing.
I think it's actually the other way around, because it's been proven that if you take breaks and, like you play games, for example, you actually increase your productivity. So, you can argue kind of like both ways, but I would argue, obviously, that we have actually increased productivity massively in this country.
You've brought joy to people's lives. Some people who would not.
Too.
Yeah, and your game is so easy to use that there's some people that would find many of these games intimidating and difficult, but Angry Birds, it doesn't take a long time to learn how to play it.
I mean, 2-year-olds and grandparents can play the game, and I think that's part of the success and why we now kind of like past 2 billion downloads of Angry Birds. But it's really every day I get people walking up to me saying that I never play games, but I play Angry Birds.
All right, so now it is such a franchise now, Peter, that you are like Martha Stewart of Angry Birds now. You've got Angry Birds coffee mugs, Angry Birds ornaments, Angry Birds books, and now this National Geographic Angry Birds Star Wars, and there's a film. National Geographic seems like an odd marriage for Angry Birds. How did that come about?
Yeah, actually, it came about when we launched Angry Birds Space last year, and we actually launched the game in space together with NASA on the International Space Station.
Sure.
And then one thing that we also did, we took over the Space Needle in Seattle that day, so we put a big
yes, remember. Yeah.
I don't know, a lot of people probably saw that as well. But anyway, so we were actually then working with National Geographic to do an Angry Birds Space book at that time, and actually, it's a perfect match, because both companies, National Geographic and Rovio, we really believe that we can and we should make learning fun, because when you're having fun, you learn more, and it's more efficient. So we actually teamed up now also on Angry Birds Star Wars. So we made Angry Birds Star Wars, Angry Birds Star Wars 2, the games. But we also then been working with National Geographic to create this series of books where we describe all these the science and the concepts behind the scenes, if you will, and we do that in a very kind of like fun way. So it's all about bringing together two great brands and making learning fun.
Do you have kids, Peter?
Yes, and two, and that's actually why I'm so passionate about education, because I think it's really, really important that we get that right, and it's something that's very, very close to my heart.
Sure. So do you tell your kids, like, you can do your schoolwork after you finish playing your video games?
Video games first.
Do your video games first.
I tend to tell them that they you have to have a healthy balance. So they can play games whenever they feel like it, but of course have to deal with their homework and school and all of that. But I think that again, you just keep a healthy balance, and they'll be fine. You know, they do sports, they play games, they do their homework. So it's again important to keep a healthy balance.
Sure. Now, as a creator of Angry Birds, which, as we said, is this massive franchise, we'll put up a link to the book because a lot of our listeners will want to find out how to get it. You must also be thinking, like, what's the next game? What's the next thing people will want to do? And I'll bet you, as a visionary, you're even thinking, like, these phones are getting more and more powerful. And so maybe you'll probably do something new with Angry Birds that you can't do yet with it. So what? 5 years down the road? Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff in our kind of like in our labs, but we're actually a great example of what we've been up to for the last year or so is actually Angry Birds Go, which is launching 11th of December, so next week, and that's our first totally new gameplay Angry Birds game. So it's a downhill kart racing game, and it's the first 3D Angry Birds game, and it really shows off the capabilities of the new phones, the new tablets.
Right.
And then there's plenty of more like that kind of like coming out later, but that's a great example of the kind of things that we can do today.
So a new would be a new
console quality graphics and all of that.
And a new Angry Birds game. So are Angry Birds like to you what Mickey Mouse was to Walt Disney? Like you're going to open an amusement park and Angry Birds will be like, will they outlive you, do you think?
Let's say probably yes. I mean, we're building Angry Birds not for like 100 days, but for 100 years. So our goal is really to make sure that Angry Birds is a permanent part of pop culture. And I think Disney started in 1928 with Steamboat Willie, a black and white cartoon about Mickey Mouse, and we started in 2009 with Angry Birds, and it's a good start, but. We're only getting started, so we have big plans for Angry Birds.
Now, Walt Disney and the Disney company have had to be pretty protective of Mickey and Donald and Goofy. People have done things with them, and kind of distorted the product a little, I guess. And there's been legal action. Now, I know with Angry Birds there have been imitators. The one, for example, that got quite a bit of attention was Angry Turds, and I don't want to anger you by mentioning this, but
that's a real thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Is that something that
you got to go? You got to go stop
after these guys.
You got to protect your brand.
Yeah,
right?
I mean we have a lot of these, but they kind of like come and go, but I think that's also. I mean, if you look at China,
do they come and go because they got a letter from your lawyers, or do they just come and go because they get tired?
Sometimes that happens as well.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Also, for us, I mean, we need to of course make sure that we create great experiences
for families,
and people know kind of like what we do and what we don't. But I think that again, it's also one kind of like sign of the popularity that there are a lot of copies. I mean, we've been the most copied brand in China for like the last couple of years.
China's your big,
there's a lot of love for the brand.
China's the big headache for every tech company, aren't they? Because they will just take the stuff and it's hard to enforce.
Yeah, but we're doing great in China. So I mean, for us, it's not like a big headache. We have hundreds of millions of downloads. 94% of the Chinese population know the brand. So
wow, that's big.
For us, China is not a bad place.
You mentioned, Peter, that Finland is kind of the birthplace of cell phone technology. My first phone was a Nokia. It's made in Finland. What's a typical calling plan in Helsinki? I mean,
how much does it cost?
How much would it cost me to have an iPhone in Helsinki?
It's not too bad. I think that it's. I haven't looked at kind of the prices lately, but it's a lot less expensive in Finland than it is here. I mean, you get like unlimited data for like $10, $15 a month.
Yeah, it's crazy. Around the world, when people use their cell phones around the world, they also typically get to call anywhere in the world because they don't differentiate, right? You get used to feeling like the whole globe is connected now.
Absolutely, and I think that it's also only the beginning. We still see massive acceleration in that, and there's more phones, more tablets, more connected screens. So I mean, we also have Angry Birds on like the new smart TVs and on all of that. So I think that there's a massive explosion in like connected devices, connected screens, and of course we want to put Angry Birds on all of those.
You sound amazing. You're quite an entrepreneur. and you've certainly done extremely well for yourself. Life has got to be good. What does Peter Vesterbacka do to relax, to go on vacation? And do you? Do you ever unplug and stop working?
Yeah, I take vacation now and then, but I always, I travel like 2/3 of my time, so I'm actually now in Washington, D.C. as we speak, and so typically when I'm home, what I then do is I actually tag along with the kids. You know, they play a lot of sports, you know, soccer and floorball and tennis and riding and all of that. So not a lot of time for like my own hobbies, but I kind of like have my kids' hobbies as my hobbies, I would say.
And they play sports in the analog world, right? They don't sit at a game console.
Absolutely, yeah. They
That's
play,
good to know.
Sports in the analog and digital world, so they do both.
Peter Vesterbacka, fascinating to meet you, sir. Congratulations on your huge success, and we'll put a link to your National Geographic Star Wars Angry Birds on our website.
Hey, thank you.
All right, be well, sir. What's that guy worth?
It starts with a B, I'll tell you that.
For sure.
It's in the billions. And I can only imagine, you know, what his house would look like.
He kind of liked the Disney comparison, I think. Well, Walt Disney started 1928, and I have for the long vision. Yeah, you sure? You betcha.
Yeah, 100 years sounds about right.
Yeah, 100 years. Yes, that'll be good. My grandchildren will be still living in the big mansion with the pool shaped like the bird. Yes.
Did you say it was their 50th game?
52nd game.
Second game. So they're all a bunch of losers, and then you hit the big time with Angry Birds, and then it's everything birds from then on. There are no slots.
Yeah, I said, like, what new game are you inventing? We're sending the birds to Neptune
We're
and
putting
Uranus?
top hats on them, but same game.
But it will be
catapulting
birds.
Always
the birds are going to be in 3D. They're going to come. Birds are going to fly out of your butt.
Still going to be angry. Very, very angry.
Seth, by the way, is a son of a game developer. His dad was a pioneer in the game.
Who does he work for?
No, my uncle. He was one of the original Atari guys.
Pong.
Yes. Yeah, he was.
Where's the Pong guy today? We talked to him a couple weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Nolan Bushnell, yes. Yeah, great guy. And actually, I have the net worth here. Just going by stock value, he owns a 3.1% of everything. And that translates to $69.8 million.
$1 million. That's all? $1 million?
So that's just stock value. Could be more.
He only owns 3% of what he started?
Yeah, it looks like a holdings company owns 69.7%.
He owns... what's the whole company valued at?
The entire company